Hi, I'm Mike Brandel from the University of Texas at Austin's McCombs School of Business, and welcome to this version of the Macro Updates. Last night, President Obama gave a speech that did many things, including talking about his future economic policies. I want to take a look at some of the suggestions President Obama laid out and what's sort of missing in a lot of the press coverage. One of the things that we see the press constantly talking about is this issue of potential nationalization of the banks. Our financial institutions have gotten themselves into so much trouble that maybe the only answer is that the government takes them over. But if you look at President Obama's speech last night, he made it clear that that's really not the path he intends on taking. Instead, he discussed the need for potential more funding of banks, but to hold those banks responsible for for the money that they get, to try to ensure that they actually lend that money to individuals, to businesses, and so on. Now, there weren't a whole lot of specifics on how exactly he's going to do that. So I think it'll be very interesting to look and keep an eye on what the next phase of bank bailouts are going to be and how specifically is he going to force those banks to lend. The second issue that Obama brings up, and I think one that needs to be looked at very, very carefully, is he talks about creating a new lending fund that is going to ensure that more money will make its way to households to buy automobiles, to fund college education, and also to entrepreneurs. It's going to be very interesting to see what exactly does he mean by that. Does he mean potentially that the government is now going to create its own lending facility to compete directly with the commercial banks? If so, is that a way to try to force more competition in the banking system, to try to get those banks to start lending? I think it's going to be very interesting to watch how the details unfold on what exactly he means by this new lending fund. Another thing that Obama addressed in his discussion and has talked about before is the mortgage bailout. He specifically said again and again and again that his policies are going to be aimed to make sure that speculators don't benefit, nor are people who have bought homes that they could not afford. They also are not going to benefit from the bailout. Well, how exactly is that going to take place? Who's going to make the decision on who exactly was a speculator? Or who's going to make the decision on who bought a home that they could not afford? Does this mean that we're going to potentially change our bankruptcy laws? If so, that could take a long time to work through Congress, and also how this is going to affect our various bankruptcy laws and bankruptcy courts. And finally, another thing that Obama touched upon was he called on Congress to, quote, reform our outdated regulatory system, close quote. And again, this is a major undertaking. The Bush administration had put forward a plan that was very, very murky, didn't have a correct alignment of incentives and so on. So it'll also be very interesting to see what exactly does the Obama administration have in mind in terms of what the new regulatory system is going to look like in the future. So while his speech last night was short on specifics of how exactly he's going to achieve these things, that in many ways is understandable. But it will be interesting to watch. What exactly will the new bailout for the banks look like? What exactly is this new lending fund mean? How exactly with the mortgage bailouts is he going to make sure that speculators and people who paid too much for homes don't benefit? And what exactly does regulatory reform mean in the future? I think there's going to be some very interesting things to watch as the future of our financial markets and financial market regulations unfold. Until next time, I'm Mike Brandel from the University of Texas at Austin. Thanks for tuning in.